So I asked you, generally speaking, are men more physically strong than women? And there was a long back and forth. I wanted to just ask the question once more. Are men stronger than women?
I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, about the conversation,
Sure.
and what I would say if it came up again. And I want to say, how are we quantifying strength? Because there's a variety. Hold on.
Physically stronger. That's it.
Well, how do you quantify?
Explosive power. Grip strength is like one of the best ways to quantify.
Well, we brought up the grip strength study, and she did not. What did you say? I think you said, well, grip strength is only one metric of strength.
No, grip strength is like one of the most important measures of strength, and it correlates because like there's this weird thing where basically this is why powerlifters will like get like butt plugs and like teeth weights.
Before I have you get, I'd like you to at least state your position before people respond to you. So
I conceded last time as well.
You didn't really, but so what? You said you've done research and you haven't found what?
I've done.
Sorry, well, we kind of interrupted you, but you were making a point of you were thinking about it, doing some research, and
like what are you measuring?
So I wasn't really.
By?
I haven't done research. I've just been thinking about the responses, having conversations with people. So like one thought that I've been having is, how can we quantify strength, and in what situations? Because I remember you brought up somebody had brought up the situation with the roommates and defending. Who would I want to defend me? I would want the strongest person to defend me.
Yeah. Well, I have a way that you can maybe, because I was thinking about this too.
Okay.
Here's maybe a good way you can quantify it. When you're walking around in your daily life, who do you see lift up more heavy stuff, men or women? Usually. Who's lifting up the heavier stuff?
Does that include heavy people?
Yeah, because I'm a dancer, so I see, women.
It includes everything that could ever be in existence. Who's picking up the heavier stuff? Usually. Who's carrying the couches? Who's loading the trucks? Who's doing all that stuff that you see?
Have you ever had any movers?
No. Actually, my response to that is both, because my stepdad will usually be one of the ones moving stuff, and then he will recruit my younger sister, who is super heavy in the gym and all that, over another male.
Is your stepdad stronger than your sister?
I don't know. They're about equal. She probably works out more than him, but he's a police officer, so.
That's also the argument, though, is if she has to work out so much harder.
Before, hold on, no. But I want you to fully, because we've kind of interrupted you a little bit. So you said that you've been having conversations with people, and what have you arrived at anything? Do you have any further thoughts? How do you quantify strength? Continue.
So I think there's a lot of different ways that we can quantify strength, and there's physical strength, yes. And I don't think there's, like you were saying, grip strength is one of the best ways to be able to tell, how overall strong someone might be. And I think that's a good point, and I think that's worth considering, but I don't think it's like the one all be all, because.
What would that be?
I don't know.
So
unless somebody can tell me, because when
you look at men and women in society, do you see that men are bigger than women? Taller, bigger?
Yes, the average height of an American man is 5'8".
And do you think that means that they got a bigger skeleton?
Like denser bones?
No, just
like a bigger
their muscular skeletal mass is going to develop differently.
Yes, necessarily. They have a bigger skeleton, and a bigger skeleton can do what? If you have a bigger skeleton, you can do what with it?
I guess hold more things. I don't know.
Harness more leverage.
Okay, that makes sense.
And you can also have larger amounts of body mass around a larger skeleton, right? So the thing is if the capacity is there for the thing that's bigger versus the thing that's not as big, which one would you judge as being generally stronger than the other? Like if you saw a kitty cat versus a lion, which thing would you think was stronger?
The lion.
Why?
Hold on.
Because the lion it's bigger, lots bigger, right?
Although to be fair, really big powerlifters actually carry less weight per poundage for their own body, because leverage does create like fulcrum points that are bad, which is why women in powerlifting are kind of insane. They don't lift the heaviest weight, but they lift pound for pound, especially in legs. They're starting to like come close to men.
I feel like you just went over with a big bag of dirt and poured it right into the water,
I know,
and now there's nothing but mud to walk through.
I should have said, hold on, I'm going to stir the pot. Obviously, men are on average stronger by obvious. I just wanted to
I like the kitty cat and the lion, and you really just kind of wrecked that for me.
But before we interrupt her, I'd like to give her an opportunity to actually finish your full thought. Go ahead,
Mr. Interrupter over here.
Don't worry. Just go ahead. Just go ahead.
Bad. Okay, got to get myself back on track. Okay, what was the final point that I?
So you said you were consulting with people, with various experts, I assume, and
my mommy.
Your mom. But you were having conversations. So what?
With scientists.
and it sounded like you rejected. We showed you that grip strength study. You rejected that because while you might acknowledge that it's a factor in strength, it might not be the ultimate test or indicator that would determine who might, comparatively, who might be stronger, men or women. So, what else?
I think it also depends on how much protectiveness somebody feels over the person that they might be defending or themselves. How much adrenaline, I guess, is pumping. Maybe not literally how much adrenaline, but how crazy they are.
Well,
or maybe
in the adrenaline example, wouldn't you have to compare an adrenalized man to an adrenalized woman? So if we just compared both of them in an adrenalized state, who's stronger, men or women?
So it would have to consider the adrenaline. And I feel like more.
I'm almost curious I'd be curious to see studies if men produce more adrenaline. I don't know.
I was thinking,
but I'd be curious if men produce more adrenaline in sort of fight or flight situations.
Yes,
but that's
of course they do.
Yeah.
I don't actually.
Well, maybe if there's a
it's
mom, wouldn't she produce more adrenaline if she felt like her kid was in danger?
Exactly.
This is going to be boring neurochemistry.
But so go ahead, continue. Now I'm interrupting. I apologize. Go ahead.
The fact that you brought up the mom situation was another point that I was considering. I know that my mom would be able to defend me so much better than my biological dad.
Okay, but the original question that this kind of stemmed from was, are men stronger than women physically?
Just on average. That's it. Just on average.
And if we're taking, I think it would just be so hard to find an average. I think is what the conclusion that I might have somewhat come to last time, but I wanted to verbalize it better, if I got the opportunity, wanted to verbalize it better. If I see the numbers and we're taking each individual man and each individual woman, and there's a list of the ones that are strong, I guess. And like I said, it's so hard to quantify these things. So who is stronger, men or women? Does anybody understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I have no idea.
I mean,
I literally have no clue.
Obviously, men can be domestic violence victims. But for example, I feel like usually a big reason in why
can we not say that word?
No, sorry,
neither here nor there.
It's fine to say.
Why women tend to be more. Not trying to say that it doesn't happen to men, because I'm sure there are men getting roughed around by. It's because usually it's harder for us to fight back because we're weaker.
But that's not really related to the conversation.
Well, I'm saying the sense that I feel like when we're talking about the average
Are you saying that women can beat up men? Yes, they can.
Yeah, but no, that's not what I was saying. I was saying the reason that majority of the case, I would say, are usually the woman is the victim is because if the strength was more half, wouldn't we fight back in those situations more often?
Well,
and our adrenaline's up too.
And our adrenaline's up. Well, yeah, exactly. And usually when a girl's a victim of DV, they end up beat up, not fighting back and having 3 rounds and just doing MMA fighting.
Okay.
Usually the woman is the one who,
Okay. Do you want to continue with your point?
I think just the main point that is important for me to say is the ability to quantify these things, the strength, and then the comparison of the strengths between an entirety, 8 billion people. We have 4 billion men approximately and 4 billion women approximately. I think it would be crazy to even try.
Beaten Cheeks donated $200. Andrew, please cook them into going back to the easiest class in elementary school about physical strength between boys and girls. P. I'm getting dumber listening to the libs than watching monkeys work.
Okay, first of all, this is not a libs talking going, okay? I've been very explicitly clear as a progressive lib that I would disagree with this. Obviously, men are normatively more strong. Just like, obviously. I think that's only not true in hyenas, but that's because female hyenas have a shitload of testosterone, which is like...
There is some set of feminists, though, and I'm not trying to like straw man feminists or whatever, but there is some like deranged feminists that, like, I don't know if you're familiar with this, Anita Sarkeesian. This is like way back. She made a whole tropes versus video games or something. She claimed that it's a trope that men are physically stronger. I don't. This was a decade ago, so I don't remember exactly what she said, but she was essentially saying that there actually is no physical strength difference.
Yeah, a lot of like cringy third wave feminists were just obsessed with women being men, but the most fourth wave feminists, for example, would fully reject this.
But continue.
Well, right, it actually makes sense because it would go against the oppressive narrative if they said suddenly that women were stronger than men. They couldn't say that men oppressed them. So
go ahead.
That kind of counterintuitive to feminism.
So let me just ask the question: are men physically stronger than women?
We already went over this. I have a hard time.
Is there I'm trying to be good faith here? Like, is there just some metric of strength that you think women are better on, or something, and that's why you're having a hard time or like what metric is giving you hesitancy?
Is there a sport that you think like women would?
Is it just the gym?
Is there
pain tolerance?
Pain tolerance is a good point.
Sport.
Is there
a sport that would go with that?
I'm just saying this is the only metric.
So like super endurance running, for example, women are starting to compete at equal levels and slightly more, specifically because of like body fat composition and like water amounts and pain tolerance that like women are starting to slightly outcompete men on like super marathons.
Nick, can you pull up boysversuswomen.com? We already looked at it. We'll look at it for 10 seconds and then so high school boys, if you put them in the US, if you put them against gold medalists in the Olympics, and this is not just in the US, this is across like the highest level of achievement in women's sports. So hold on, let me read this, Nick. Scroll up. Male high school athletes, so I'm assuming this is US, male high school athletes versus female Olympians. So this isn't just US female Olympians, this is all Olympians from the entire world, every single country. If high school boys win against the fastest women, is it fair for males? Well, that's okay. That's another conversation. So if you allowed high school boys to compete against female Olympians, the boys would steal all those medals from the women. So just scroll down just a bit. We won't see the whole thing, but track and field, 2016 high school boys versus 2016 Olympic women's finalists. Scroll down a bit, Nick. So this is for the 100 meter. No, up. And it's going to resort. So those are high school boys who would outperform the Olympian women. Scroll down just a tad. We'll just look at one more and we won't linger. This is 400 meter, 800 meter. And it's going to resort here. Okay, so high school boys who certainly are, I assume, are not even at their athletic peak, are out-competing female Olympians. Just U.S. high school boys are out-competing all the women in the world who are at the peak within their gender.
Okay. Must be steroids.
So how can you explain that high school boys are out-competing women, if not for having more strength, for example? Or fast twitch, I mean, these are races, so that's probably more related to like your fast twitch muscle fibers and stuff.
Like explosive power, yeah. Okay.
But you know what, related to that, Nick, can you pull up photos of male sprinters versus female sprinters just to see what their bodies look like?
I should look at there's a video of a female sprinter like paced alongside a male sprinter video. It's probably I used to actually
make sure it's not TOS.
Agree with you. And then my husband, when we were just starting to date, just showed me like Serena Williams being like, I would never, and then the like U.S. soccer team of women Olympians losing to like the U16 boys team, and I was like, okay, this is just like brain rot.
And it was bad.
Like they lost.
Scorched.
It was scorched. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were laughing at him and mocking him. It was pretty funny.
Okay.
So the way that I'm looking at strength is less in sports and stuff and more in like physical combat and stuff.
Okay, well, what about like Navy SEALs? There are like hardly ever any. I don't even know if there's women Navy SEAls.
There's none.
Women would never compete in a male fighting sport ever. They would get combat. In fact, this is like part of the trans athlete conversation. Is that like trans athletes, even after doing a whole bunch of stuff to like make them like their teen stuff similar to cis women, all the cis women that have fought them been like they punch like nothing I've ever experienced. It's like a truck hitting your face.
I almost wonder if you don't want to concede this because then it would perhaps you have a corresponding position on the trans people in sports thing, and if you were to concede that men are physically stronger than women or males are stronger than females, then you then must concede that we should not have trans women in women's sports. Is that what this stems from?
I don't think so. I think it's more just to do with my personal experience with my mother and like her, like I know she could whoop anybody's ass. Like my dad's
No, your mother could not whoop anybody's ass.
You think she could beat up Joe Rogan?
Mike Tyson?
I don't know if she was angry enough.
Guy down the street.
No, that's not your degree. Your degree of anger does not dictate your ability to beat someone in a fight who is, say, 2 times as strong as you and who weighs twice as much as you and who's a foot taller than you. In a fist fight, let me ask. Here, can we pull up?
Are we talking about a professional fist fight?
Hold on.
No.
Anywhere.
Nick,
pull up a photo of Brock Lesnar. So your mom, how tall is your mom?
She's 5 foot.
She's how tall?
5 foot.
5 foot. Okay, she's 5 foot. Nick, you got the photos? Nick.
She's gonna be so happy.
Just Brock Lesnar image.
Also, not saying women can't be badass, but we have to work.
Wait, before you pull it up, your mom could beat up anybody.
I'm pretty confident she could beat up a lot of people. I don't know about anybody, but I'm gonna confidently
What percentage of men could your mom beat up? At 5'4", do you think?
At 5 foot.
She's 5
foot.
foot.
Oh, excuse me. Oh,
4 inches shorter than
and
that.
you are aware that the average male height is like 5'9", 5'10".
So I believe last time I checked it was 5'8". Yeah.
It depends. It depends what country, but in the U.S., I believe
US.
In any case, so what percentage of men in the U.S. do you think that your mom could beat up? How much does she weigh, too, by the way?
Right now she's gonna be uncomfortable with me talking about this. I think like 145.
Your 5 foot mother's going to be uncomfortable about you talking about her beating up men?
No.
No, about her weight. Her weight.
Okay. I guess, yes, it's rude to ask a woman's age and weight. What percentage of men do you think your mom could beat up?
My guess would probably be...
Fist fight. No, like, hidden weapons or any shit.
Teeth, nails,
everything.
fighting dirty.
Anything to the
Anything she can use.
Fighting dirty, I think approximately...
The man can fight dirty, too.
Yeah, approximately 80%.
Holy fuck, you're delusional.
Have you ever seen a fist fight?
You are delusional,
have you ever
my dear. You are delusional, my dear.
80%. Have you ever been trained in any sort of MMA? That's the first question.
Wait.
Oh my god.
Girl,
not even just like karate.
The male kick's gonna be lethal.
Okay, do you have the Brock Lesnar clip? So before you pull it up, just the first one. Do the first one, the Wikipedia. The first one.
Could your mom beat him up?
So Brock Lesnar, I think he's like well over 6 feet. He's probably over 200 pounds.
Damn.
Could your mom beat him up?
You said he's 6 feet?
Forget, just based off
anyone though.
Yeah.
No, but that's fine. But I'm asking, could your mom?
He could be in the 20%.
Huh?
He could be in the 20% that she can't beat up.
What if he was 5 foot?
No. Could? Yeah, forget his height. Forget his height. Let's say this is 5 foot Brock Lesnar. This is his. Could your mom beat up Brock Lesnar? UFC.
She might be able to. Okay.
You're so. Oh my God, you're delusional. You are. I'm sorry, but there's no other way to say this.
Wait,
you are
you
delusional.
think your mom could beat up out of 4 billion men? 80% of them.
No, we said in the U.S. We did say in the U.S.
Okay,
so
300 million. Let's give 150. Let's say 100 million men.
I bet you your mom could beat up like a guy who's like a paraplegic and was like 80 and like maybe a bit more, but like this is where like God, theory of violence is really important, and our society has the worst, and women have a way worse theory of violence than men, because every man knows that he is not taking on a 6'2" bro, even if he's 5'8", right? Like, no shot, because it's like your mom is going into a sword fight with a little dagger.
Yeah.
Like, the reach alone is so dangerous. Like,
I was going into it's worse.
Like,
so much worse.
With a knife.
She might not be able to even reach his head to punch him in the head.
Right, and this is why, like, theory
Brock
of violence
Lesnar's
is
an
so
F-16, and your mom is a needle. That's the difference. Literally, that would be the distinction.
And I feel like if we could like have even fight, like feminists wouldn't be like, you know, arguing things, probably just fight back against men, just beat them all
Where's
up.
the logic?
Wait, can you say that?
What? Oh, this way. Oh.
No, yeah. Okay, so sorry, that was my OCD. What is the? I want to ask the whole table here, not to like
Fucking dying over there.
And, well,
No, because I fight. I fucking have senseis that will slap me in the fucking face. It doesn't matter how much I'm like, yeah, I got this. I'm just mad. Like, let's just go. Man, people put me in my place so fast. Like, it's not funny.
I can
Like
also say,
let's say like a 40.
Her mom could probably beat up 80% of them.
My sensei, she'll probably beat up both my senseis who have years of experience.
I have a question. So okay. Did you say you do jiu-jitsu?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Like grappling.
So I've heard this, like a male blue belt, and by the way, belts and like it takes a long time to get belts. And,
years.
Jiu-jitsu, it's a lot longer than like taekwondo.
So in jiu-jitsu, my understanding is like a male same weight, a male blue belt is going to tap a female black belt.
Period. It has a lot to do with weight.
Yeah.
Weight is what's keeping you down.
I would argue
And
even
size.
like same weight, like a male. Maybe. Also, I did wrestling in high school. We had women on the team, and typically, like the women when they went to the tournaments, like they typically more often than not they lost.
Okay.
By the way, can I just instruct my team and my audience who are watching this to begin the meme generation of my mom can beat up Brock Lesnar. Do it immediately as fast as you possibly can.
I don't understand why.
But
why is
I
that
think
still on?
I think here's the thing. It should be like you had to like calculate what if the adrenaline. It's like it should be an
Because there's
instant.
so many fucking factors.
No, there's no
so
factors.
many factors.
You see a photo of Brock Lesnar. You know that your mom is 5 feet. It should be instantaneous. Nah, he could kill her.
But it also depends on how smart they are and how quick they are.
How smart?
But
he
she
is
was
like
saying,
a trained, like he does
fighter.
that for a
Okay,
living.
Even if he wasn't, though,
just
He was a
looking at
UFC
this.
champion.
sit on her and be done. Like, let's
Wait,
be real.
I
You
wanna-
don't even have to
okay.
have experience. You could sit on her.
But you said it comes down to intelligence.
It doesn't come down to, but I think that's another factor. Like if
Are
you're
you,
quick
like-
on your feet and if you know fighting skills, I think that those
think
things
that
are
can definitely
Is your mom a
Here.
professional
Exactly.
fighter?
It can help. So
Let me ask you this question. Let's say Brock Lesnar, Brock Lesnar, granted, is a UFC fighter. Let's just say he's totally untrained, but in that body, totally untrained male, has never taken a boxing class, hasn't even done like Tai Bo, fucking nothing.
he just goes to the gym and he attained that build.
Just goes to the gym, zero fight training. Your mom at 5 feet, she is the pound for pound best MMA fighter in the world. Does your mom still in a fight, does she beat up Brock Lesnar?
I say there's probably an 85 to 90% probability that she could.
This is some girl math right here.
This is girl math right here.
85 to 90%.
I am super ignorant, so this is a genuine question.
Yeah.
Because I've read some stuff about certain what is it? And this is not to defend, it's just out of curiosity because I know you do martial arts. Like certain martial arts, if you get really well trained, you can use opponents' like own like body or like physical build
Against them.
Yeah,
They're
grappling
waiting
is
on
for that,
them.
yes.
There's
Yeah.
also so many
But
other things
there's
like
still-
pressure points and stuff, but they'd have to be in that position at that moment to do that.
And they're also-
and that's
You're
just
not
not
getting theirs
that's just
already.
not like the case all the time. So.
Also,
like-
by the way, men can be so physically overpoweringly strong that it doesn't matter where you get them with the leverage. It doesn't matter any of that. They don't even move. That guy, pound for pound, can take on a fucking bear, right? He's massive.
I think this is
Wait,
actually
massive.
just one thing. Just one thing.
$200. Is she confused about who can win a fight when arguing? Cause this chick doesn't know when to tap out. Maybe her mom doesn't either. Stop hitting her, she's brain dead.
I guess this is like a really big safety thing too. This is why I fight really hard against feminists who say this. Any girl who's like dating a boy, ask him to try to like just bear hug you, like physically, like don't get him to choke you or anything. Just restrain you and say, don't let me go, and I'm gonna fight as hard as I can.
Yep.
It's really important that women understand, like this is why like I'm all for women taking self-defense courses and stuff, but the
100%.
best self-defense, as my cop dad would say, is screaming, please fucking help me.
Yeah, whistles,
And
things
trying to
like
run
that,
and
yeah.
whistles and stuff. It's really important that women understand, like this is why when women talk about like feeling unsafe around men and men like are poo-pooing it, it's like, no, this is why this really, really matters, is because the power disparity between the average man and the average woman. I'm the same height as my husband. He would fucking, if he wanted to kill me, he could kill me at literally any time, no matter what, and only if I had a gun could maybe I do, and if we're in close quarters, I still might be fucked.
But even then, they usually take the guns away from the women.
True.
Well, also
True feminism is
testosterone-
giving women guns,
testosterone
okay?
has a lot to do with it, which we lack in as females.
as women.
Testosterone
Yeah, it's a huge
pushes
deal, yeah.
buttons in men, and the higher it goes, and like the more enraged you are as a man, I've seen it. Like it's
Well, it's not just
crazy.
that, but
Own personal
testosterone is
steroid.
the building blocks for things like muscle. I mean, you need it for almost everything.
Absolutely.
For men, it's the fountain of youth. That's what testosterone
But
is
your
for
point
us.
was so good. Ask a man to just
Hold you.
even just squeeze you kind of hard.
Or just
you
lay on
can't
top of
even
you.
breathe. Like I just actually had this happen, and this guy was like 6 foot tall. And I was like, he just hugged me so tight and cracked my back. I was like, oh my God. Like, it was just like intense. And I fight
Unless
5 days a week, actually. So that was like, and I wasn't trying to fight him, but his strength alone was like surprising to me. And I was
It's-
like, wow, like,
And I've been in similar situations to that. I'm not gonna say that I can beat up any man. I can't beat up my own. Like I can't beat up any woman. I'm weak as fuck physically. I
Can
don't.
you beat up
and-
Nick? You might be
oh,
into
that's
that.
a good
I
point.
don't know if
I'm
probably
kidding, I'm
not,
kidding, Nick.
Probably not. Like I mean, I used to get in fights with my ex, and I'd freaking start him, and I'd still get my ass whooped. You
Like
know,
phys-
I don't think I honestly have much more to say. Like I said, there's a lot of factors
what-
that go
okay.
into it. The
There's a lot
adrenaline,
of-
the intellect of an individual. You know, how quick they are on their feet, fighting skills that they have, all of these things.
What would it take to convince you that you're incorrect about this?
Statistics.
We
Or,
showed
and, like,
showed you.
Other than
I know.
We showed you the grip strength study. We showed you in the previous episode that the male deadlift. What? Yes, I was about to say
Okay.
the deadlift. It was like almost men. The
like
world
true.
record is twice as much in deadlift for men as it is in women. And I showed you that gold medal comparison that that high school boys who are not at the top of the hierarchy when it comes to athleticism. Well, I mean, compared to female Olympians, they outcompete female Olympians. So what I'm failing to see what it would. Does anybody here at the table think that there's a smoking gun that would convince her that men are just physically stronger than women, generally speaking?
No.
And I'm asking the chat too. If the chat has any, if we're missing something here that would help us, is there like a smoking gun piece of, I don't know
What
if
would
it's a
it take to-
study or.
Okay.
What would it take to convince you that your mom couldn't beat up 80% of the men?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I could be proven wrong on that. I'm not like firm on it. He asked me what percentage or whatever. I just gave a
There's
guess.
like a meta-analysis of like 10,000 data points, and it was like conclusive that on average men hold like more explosive power on every single like metric, and their anthropomology like it literally is towards them being like stronger. Would that convince you?
I think so. I think from everything that I
Those
received from the
exist.
point that you were making.
Yeah,
Okay.
those do exist,
They exist.
and they're pretty strong. in, like,
Overwhelmingly. Like, could never be refuted.
But I used to like think what you thought.
So like, but I just hope that at least you understand what I'm saying, especially because you used to have that perspective, that it's strength can be is so many different things at once.
Sure, the issue is that like
Oh my God.
when it comes to every single metric of strength, men just outcompete. And like at the end of the day, I do understand what you're saying. It's just like I think at some point it's okay to be like, yeah, I guess I was incorrect about
What-
that, which is like
yeah, and that's honestly, I've come here to learn, to try to expand my ability to debate.
Being in a group dynamic like this, where like everyone's just like taking pot shots, isn't exactly the best space to be like waving the humble flag either, because I don't think anyone will take it. So.
And I have been pretty firm about this, but because nobody put it the way that she just put it, I was really asking for how did you put it? A meta-analysis of what?
10,000 plus points, like data points, like an N of 10,000.
Okay.
I don't know if you know what an N is, but it's like the sample size.
So. Maybe if you guys could have just done that, Mr. Professional Debater. I'm so frustrated. You say you're a professional debater, and then you immediately get fired up when somebody doesn't agree with you, or when something isn't making complete sense. When you haven't let somebody complete their point.
Listen.
No, you listen to me. Give me
How much more time do I need to let you talk? I barely said anything to you. So listen.
You're telling me to listen in the middle of my statement.
So listen. When you say Mr. Professional Debater, here's me, Mr. Professionally Debating.
But
if you're so fucking stupid, you don't understand men are stronger than women, you're not worth debating. You're not smart enough to have the conversation. Just sit there. It's like, it's crazy to me. Why would I need to debate with you that the sky is blue, or that there's clouds, or that? Why would I debate those things?
You chose to come on the podcast.
Yeah, I didn't come on the podcast to choose to debate with a clown. Doesn't know that men are stronger than women. Who would ever dispute that?
Yeah. Don't interact. Just sit back, relax.
I have been,
but we could have just ended the conversation.
I haven't been doing this, but you deserve it.
But
honestly,
you saw that she wasn't like that. Her opinion couldn't kind of been swayed. You should have been okay. That's the end of the conversation.
Swayed?
Let's move on. It's just kind of been like.
But it's I also feel like as a woman, it's like it's not really the girl power point it's supposed to be. When like I feel like a big basis of a lot of women's issues is we can't fight back. So I feel like it definitely.
Okay, not totally related, but the thing is that it's shocking to hear somebody say that, because in the same way that Andrew said he doesn't want to debate whether the sky is blue, you don't really how do you it's almost self-evident that men are stronger than women. There need not even be studies done, but they've done many studies comparing strength. For example, you do acknowledge that men, generally speaking, are larger in size, right? And so that might manifest itself, for example, in the components that make up your body, right? So if you're physically bigger, that means you have more fat, you have more skeleton, you have more muscle, correct?
Okay.
Now, if you lift weights and you start getting stronger, you start developing what? Muscle, right? So do you acknowledge that men, on average, have more muscle than women?
Yes, I think we had this part of the conversation last time where there was more muscle on the average.
If you have more muscle, are you going to be stronger? Generally speaking, we can get into different types of muscle fibers, and
I mean, I don't need necessarily the muscle fibers, but I would say yes. Somebody that has more muscle has a stronger. No, I don't. I don't
lift weights.
So I'm not going to say that I'm strong.
That's fine. If you started to lift weights, would you anticipate an increase in your muscle size?
As long as I'm feeding my body nutritiously, I would say so, yes.
Okay. And correspondingly, if you started lifting weights, your strength would increase, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So your muscle size would increase. You'd be able to lift more weights. So if men have more muscle mass, wouldn't it be generally... You concede that men, on average, have more muscle mass than women, just due to their larger physical size?
Yes, and I think...
So do you then think, because you've conceded that men have more muscle mass, you concede that they're physically larger, because men have more muscle mass, on average, would you say that on average, due to men's greater muscle mass, that they're stronger than women?
Logically, yes, that makes sense. But
what do you mean logically, yes?
The reason that I have an issue conceding on this topic is because I don't want to put out there to the men that aren't willing, to the audience that isn't willing to look at all of the aspects in the strength. So I don't want to just be willy-nilly, men are stronger than women, because like we've discussed, there are so many women that are stronger than men, and we haven't taken.
That's not okay, but we've already addressed that before. So, are there women that are stronger than men? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Are there women that could beat up men? Absolutely. But just because there are women that could beat up men does not mean that that all women could beat up all men.
Yeah, I know.
But so we're not saying like. I don't know. I don't even know how to argue this. I don't know.
Can we stop talking to Brooke from ISA? Obviously men are stronger than women. Let's move on to others on the panel instead of focusing on whether the sky is blue.
I agree. I agree, and I would love to move on.
I'll move on. I'm going to move on soon.
This space doesn't make it okay or easy to be wrong, and I think like for example, like all the chat being like, haha, yeah, it's awesome. She's just some dumb bimbo bitch. It's like that's exactly the problem with all of this like ideological wrestling is that it's damn near impossible.
Ideological wrestling. I mean, you yourself have said that, but you agree.
I agree with you.
You agree that men are stronger.
Like this is like this simple thing. For example,
it's very simple.
Hold on.
It is very simple.
Why are women out competing on super marathons all of a sudden? Do you know why that is?
No, tell us.
We actually addressed this.
I don't know. That's the interesting question. Why the fuck are women doing so well on super marathons?
Why would that matter to this claim?
Because I'm not saying that it matters to this claim. I'm saying like being really nasty towards somebody who like is having a hard time admitting that they're wrong in a space that is really hard to ever be wrong in. Yeah. I think it's just shitty.
No, we don't need a coddle.
I think that's.
I'm not here to coddle.
Kyla, I would say that's totally fair.
Wait, let Andrew respond. Just let Andrew respond.
This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. We went through this for like 2 hours last time. With her on, hang on, stop. Why? Last time I was on, went through 2 hours. So she had all that time to come back for that one big claim, the whole time, to just Google, are men stronger than women? And the big Google box, which goes, yes, and big neon signs, and there's going to be sparkles and flowers poofing that says, yes.
Yes.
She could have done that. She didn't.
Yes.
So, yeah, is he poking fun of her and laughing at her? Yeah. Does she deserve it? Yeah. Is she going to learn from it? Probably not.
Should you do it for like 30 to 50 minutes is kind of my question. I agree.
2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Do it as long as it takes.
Can I finish my thoughts? With love, I think it's like a pretty bad position. I think you're wrong, obviously, right? And I think like holding to it regardless of anything is like probably not a good look. The issue is like after her and I's exchange, she's like, okay, yeah, I guess you're right. But then we just needed to go back into it and like rake things over the coals again. And you had to have your big diatribe about like how she's dumb and not worth debating ever and stuff like that, which I'm not even disagreeing with you. The issue is like, why is this nasty behavior necessary when we all pretend like we're here to like wrestle with ideas and try to figure out like the answers to reality? None of these types of orientations.
Because it's a rejection of reality.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It does matter. No, it doesn't matter about the way that you treat other people.
Yes, it does. No. Listen,
is that
when you say, hey,
it's not tone policing. I'm not saying you're like doing dog whistles.
If you're going to wrestle with different ideas, you're going to wrestle with different things that people believe. You have to risk being offensive, and sometimes you have to be mean to jar them out of their nonsense and their bullshit. I've had to do it hundreds of times. You've had to too. I've seen you do it.
Yeah, I'm real.
So let's not pretend for a second that this is somebody on some big white horse, right, trying to ride in and save her from something that she that what should have happened instead is she should have just been like, listen, doofus, stop doing that shit.
Sure.
Okay,
so
when
what,
you guys were
hold
saying
on.
I'm sorry. Please, just, it'll take 2 seconds. When you guys were running in circles last time and this time, when you guys were running in circles in this conversation, this time and last time, failing to understand what I was trying to say, and maybe I wasn't putting it across the best way. Maybe I wasn't, and I can admit to that, and I wasn't.
She's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. It was just not productive because you guys were completely failing to understand the point that I was trying to make.
Which was what?
Which was it's very hard to quantify strength.
It's not though.
She just said that there was 10,000.
But you said you said it's hard to quantify strength. So what about for example, in physical education, I think you had to do like pull-ups and push-ups.
Yeah.
Like if you just took like an untrained boy and an untrained girl, like men, did you take PE in high school? Like, was there a pull-up test? Was there running? Was there push-ups? Typically, the women were allowed to do push-ups on their knees. Mm-hmm. Did you do push-ups on your knees in physical education? Mm-hmm. Were the boys able to do push-ups without being on their knees? Mm-hmm. So, okay, that's chest strength, push strength. Do you think this motion when it comes to self-defense, the ability to force,
Yes.
like literally a punch. This is a punching motion. So your push-up strength would
Correlate.
would translate to perhaps your strength when punching somebody. Don't you think that could be an indicator? Maybe.
Yes, it is an indicator, and that's what I'm saying.
But
like,
you said
that is an
quantify.
indicator.
So let's say the boys in physical education class in junior high school and high school, they're able to do push-ups not using their knees, and they can do far more than women. Would that be quantifying men's strength versus women's strength? Or what about pull-ups? I remember when I was in high school, I could do 10 pull-ups. Maybe 2 girls could do 1 pull-up. Do you remember doing pull-ups in high school?
So actually the girls...
Use that life experience, the pull-ups in high school. Were the boys able to do more pull-ups than the women?
Okay.
It's been quantified.
But I also don't know how active these men or these boys have been throughout their life and how active they are on a recreational level. And I know, or I don't know how active
every single day you have PE class and you're doing the same activities.
And then what are they doing at home? What are they...
Didn't you already agree with me though about like the stats and everything? Like, didn't you just concede?
Yes, I'm just trying to reemphasize the question.
I think it's okay to just be wrong, right? I think it's okay to be like, all of the issues that I was raising before probably aren't that valid.
But she doesn't concede that she's wrong.
I agree that she doesn't.
She doesn't concede.
I agree that she doesn't concede. But here's a question
wrong.
I would actually want to ask you too. Why did she concede to me that she was wrong?
Well, I think she was looking...
She conceded to me that I was wrong. I said, would a study, like a meta-analysis of 10,000, convince you that there was?
I don't feel like she really actually has conceded to you.
Yes,
though.
I did.
I think she explicitly did. And
Didn't
I said,
you just to say to her 5 seconds ago, I thought you just conceded this point? And she was like, well, no, not really.
She fully conceded that men are stronger than women based on the evidence I submitted to her, correct?
Yes.
What evidence did you submit to her?
I said that there's meta-analysis with over 10,000 data points that would very clearly normatively show on all metrics of strength that men are stronger.
So why do you... So the question that you have for us is, I think what you're trying to say is that you created an escape route for her to get away.
False. The question is, why did she concede with me and not with you or you? That's what I'm asking.
Because you created an escape route for her.
How is that an escape route to say there is that meta-analysis?
Well, because it's very clear at this point from her perspective, after getting beat up on this 2 times in a row, over and over and over again, by everybody sitting at the table both times, that she was completely incorrect, and essentially you threw a lifeline. She was able to grab the lifeline.
What was the lifeline?
I was happy.
You're wrong.
I was happy to let you throw the lifeline, happy to let her grab it, happy to move on from that, right? Except when we kind of get back into it, we go, wait a second, did she really grab the lifeline?
Hold on.
She agreed with her, and then no one moved on.
We didn't move on in large part because Brian wanted to redirect, which is fine. It's your show, obviously.
Well,
but part of why we didn't move on is because Brian redirected to the question point. She did concede to me. It doesn't mean that she conceded with me about like grip strength. I didn't get into all of those specifics necessarily, but I think it's important to pose of like, what are the things that are necessary to like allow people to be willing to change their mind? And what I was saying about you guys, like, I think it's fine to think she's got a dumbass idea and wrong and be like a little mean to her about it. I don't think that that's a problem. I think it's really weird though when like everyone's like group punching on her. It's like, have you ever seen a fight where like one kid gets punched in the face and then 10 other kids come from out of nowhere and start like stomping on each other?
But this is almost like if everyone here agreed that I have blue eyes and she's like, no, he has brown eyes, and we're like, no, he has blue eyes, like that is the degree of the delusion.
Yeah.
She's not operating in reality
I don't
at all.
know if my response would be to like circle the drain with her for an hour just to keep highlighting how wrong she is. And then when somebody else on the panel gets her to be like, okay, I guess they are brown when you say it that way, I wouldn't then recircle back to it. I would go, why am I recircling back here? Probably for content, in fairness, which is not like the worst. I just like, so this whole like white knight shit, obviously
it's just
not.
Perhaps you've got the kid gloves on with her, and perhaps the way you worded it, it's not even clear to me, because if you ask her, if you get her to concede to the point, and then I then ask essentially this, I don't know if I ask the exact same thing as you, but if I say, well, okay then, so if you concede to her point, then surely must be the case that you agree that men, generally speaking, are stronger than women, and then you say no. In actuality, she didn't concede to your point. I guess she just wanted to be agreeable with you because you were being pleasant to her.
Just
Okay, but
ask
you're
the
also
question
attacking
now.
her.
Point
So
I'm
it's
not
like
attacking
everyone-
her.
She's not being like, it's not. I think the only name calls was like probably Andrew. And
He
they're
said she
somewhat
was
warranted.
stupid and dumb as
I
fuck.
think that was
That was
Andrew.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm
But
saying.
Brian didn't attack
No,
her.
Brian, you weren't. I'm saying it's because you were coming off like every time she would tell you like maybe this is what I think, this is my opinion. You kept
And
making the point that she is wrong.
Here, let's let her speak for herself.
It's
Go
not
ahead.
even about what I think. I mean, okay, it is about what I think, but it's more about really the way that I'm thinking it. Like I've been trying to say, it's like there's so many factors that go into strength. There's so many factors that go into strength, and it's really hard with what the information that you guys were giving me. All y'all gave me.
What are the factors that go into strength?
We talked about it. The adrenaline, the muscle mass,
Yes,
the grip
okay.
strength,
Agree.
all of those things.
Okay,
So you guys
so
gave
we
me-
established that grip strength, men have more grip strength. We established that men have more muscle density and muscle mass. And when it comes to adrenaline, if I were to concede to you that when in a fight or flight situation, both men and women receive the same dose of adrenaline, using those other factors, if the muscle mass is more in men and the grip strength is more in men, but the adrenaline is the same, then wouldn't men still be stronger?
Yes.
Compared to okay.
Yes. So there are those factors, and then there are factors
Thank
that
you,
I don't
AB.
know about and I cannot list. And I don't know if anybody can list them because you probably have to have a pretty in-depth understanding of biology.
No,
and stuff
you
like
don't
that.
need an in-depth understanding of
because-
biology. You don't. Do you think in order to make the determination that men are stronger than women, generally speaking, that you need to have like a PhD in?
I think it requires a meta-analysis that she was referring to. Whether or not you have a PhD, you take that
So
study.
let me ask you a question. Would, say, a 10-year-old boy who's in elementary school, would he be incapable of coming to the conclusion that men are stronger than women? Only.
Yeah, because he doesn't have the facts. If he doesn't have the facts, then there's no way he can come to that conclusion, right? Does that mean, like, I don't know if I'm...
So what about me? I dropped out of City College. I dropped out of City College. I never got a degree from an institution of higher education. Because of my lack of credentials, am I incapable of coming to the conclusion that men are stronger than women?
No, because it's not about the credentials. I'm telling you, it's about the facts that you know. If you know the facts, then you know the facts, and that's the end of it. Is that easy to understand?
Oh, okay. I don't even know how to argue this, to be honest.
Because you can't. I mean, if
I
you
don't
know
know
the
how to argue
facts,
this.
then you know them, and you can provide them, and you can use them in your argument.
What if
His point would be like he provided multiple.
Yes, and I didn't
And when then
disagree.
we saw it,
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. So we have the great benefit of the internet. Let's go back 100 years. Let's say I was some farm boy that I never went to school. I grew up on a farm. Go back 200 years. Grew up on a farm, didn't have access to the internet, never went to school, had no education. Would I be wrong, as somebody who's had no education, who can't Google grip strength and Olympian? Well, there wasn't the Olympics 200 years ago. Or actually, well,
The Greeks had the
well,
Olympics.
yeah, but then
Kinda
it's.
like the
I think it came. When did the Olympics come back? In the early 1900s.
He was early
or-
19s, yeah.
In any case, that's kind of irrelevant. Would I not be able to determine that men are physically stronger than women?
So you could make a generalization based off the information that you've gathered throughout your lifetime.
Okay.
But you cannot state for a fact with 100% confidence and certainty that men are stronger than women. Because as a farm boy that doesn't know nothing, you've seen this much of the world and been given the information or this much information about the world.
Actually, as a farm boy, you might have a substantial
have
amount of
more.
information because that's a physically laborious job.
I don't disagree with you, but I'm just...
And perhaps if something heavy on the farm needs to be moved, it's not the women that end up moving it, but it's the men.
Exactly. So that would be... you could come to a generalization using that information. I don't
But
understand.
you said I don't even know. I don't know how to further tackle
I think
this?
like the most important thing in all this is you need to have like a line of credulity, right? And like I don't know if a meta-analysis of 10,000 is the best line of credulity. It's one, but it's like, you know, for example, probably what Brian and Andrew would point to, and probably most of chat would be like, you can just like look around at life and like see it. And so I think like whenever you're thinking about an idea, you must have a line where you say like, this would be enough to convince me. And if you don't have that line, the reality is like you probably don't have much worth in really engaging in the idea. And I'm not saying that this is just you, just to be clear, like everybody in chat who's laughing at this has some dumb fuck beliefs with no lines of credulity either. It's just like what we're running into in here is like Brian's like, there is no line of credulity other than like probably in his mind he's like, the reason maybe Kyla was effective is because she like has tits, and like said it nicely, which I'm not sure if that's actually what
that's not my position, but
sure, I would be curious. I guess maybe your position is that I didn't actually convince her. I think is actually your
well,
position.
it could be the case that she has an in-group bias for other women, and to hear it from a woman might actually.
Wait, isn't that the same thing?
Well, not because you have tits.
Oh, sorry. So when I say when I have tits, it's like a joke towards.
Oh, okay,
in-group
I
bias.
see.
Because
Okay.
we're women. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
I was actually hopeful that Andrew last episode would be able to at least understand the logical.
There's nothing logical in
No, I'm just-
your position.
The question of the logic, the question of the objectivity of strength, and the question of the quantifiability. Like that's because I'm just raising questions. That's
Right.
it. I wasn't
Here's my
making
logical-
solid arguments. Please, I wasn't making solid arguments. I didn't make a single solid argument. Actually, this whole conversation and the last conversation, I just said I don't know. I do not have all of the quantifiable information or all of the data that it would need. Or that I would need to determine if on average men are stronger than women.
Right,
I
but
don't
why
have
make the
data.
statement that your mom could beat up 80% of men?
He
if
asked
you
me
don't
for
have
a
the
random
information?
statistic. That was just a freaking guess.
Let me ask you a question. Let's say you went to a powerlifting competition, a lifting where they do various lifts, and you could like interview every single individual at this powerlifting competition, and let's say that there's 100 men and 100 women, and it's not just like you're comparing 100 men who lift to 100 women who have lived sedentary lives. They're both they're peak athletes. They both are in the top of their competition. They're at a competition. If you were able to interview all of them, like, don't you think in that cohort, well, not don't you think, but I'll ask, do you think that the men would be stronger than the women?
Based on the information that I've gained from this episode, I'm going to say yes, the men would be stronger than women.
We did it.
Solution!
Okay, all right.